welcome to another up close video. So today's one is another one looking at an Arteza product, and Arteza kindly sent me a few more products to have a play with and do some up close videos for you. You might have already seen one on the twine markers and the watercolour books, the like 5.5 inch square ones, but this video is going to be looking at the mica powders. They actually sell two different sets of mica powders. This one that I got is 60 different colours, and they are all in 5-gram pots, or for about the same price you could get a set that only has 35 colours, but you get 10 grams of each. So technically you're getting more in the other set, like more weight, but you're just getting less colour options. But it depends on the application you want to use it for, to like whether you're going to benefit more from less of more colours rather than more of less colours, if you know what I mean. So the mica powders are great for us crafters, but you can also, they're also cosmetic grade, so you can also use them to create your own like eyeshadows or blusher powders or bits and pieces like that, or maybe soaps and stuff. Like on the cover you've got bath bombs and actual like cakes of soap as well, or you can even use them in things like candle wax. You can use them in resin paintings. You can like dust the inside of silicone moulds before you put clay or resin or other bits and pieces into moulds, so that it kind of acts as a release agent but also picks up all of the details as well. But I'm going to show you a few ways of how you can use them if you're a crafter, and because they are cosmetic grade, they are just mica powders. So if you have ever had any mica powders, like crafting ones in the past, they kind of work a bit differently because they don't have that binder that's in them. Usually with the kind of mica powders you get in like craft stuff, it's usually you can spray it with water and that will activate the binders and then that's it. But with these ones, because they're cosmetic grade, they don't have that binder in them, they are just mica. You will have to kind of do other bits and pieces to them to get them to stay and be permanent. They do look really nice just adding them with water, however they will rub off over time, but you know, that's just a preference really. If you know something's not going to be around for that long, it doesn't really matter that it's going to rub off over time, or maybe if it's behind glass as well, it wouldn't really matter. But I just wanted to tell you that. So I really love the packaging of this, first of all. So you get it in one of these kind of boxes that has the little like flappy bit. I think they're called like just postal boxes or something. But anyway, this kind of nice sort of carton, it really holds them all sturdy in there. I mean, you can hear them shake a little bit, but they don't move at all because the pots I've got square sides. So for storage, you could have this like upright in sort of a book-like storage on your shelf, and it's going to take up less space than having to stack things like up vertically as well. So it's a really great storage solution that they've given you it in, and it's a really sturdy cardboard, so it's going to last a long time as well. And also I really like the packaging, just the wood grain and the pictures they've used on it. And on the back of the packaging it tells you all of the colours that you get in there, all 60 of them. And it says you get 56 metallic colours and 3 chameleon colours, which are really cool. And then you also get a little tiny plastic spoon as well, which is really helpful for getting the powder out of the jar, or you can use a fluffy brush for a lot of the techniques that I was using it for. It also gives you proportions as well, so if you were going to make soaps, nail polishes, eyeshadows, powders that you would use on your face, or putting it in epoxy resin, it tells you the percentage that you can use up to, you know, to get that product to still work as it's supposed to, which is brilliant. They're also non-toxic as well, which is great. So you know, if the particles are sort of floating around in the air and you inhale them, it's not going to be toxic for you or anything, which is brilliant. So I will open the box and show you the gorgeous colours that we get, and I'll show you how I have swatched them as well, because I was unsure how I could swatch all of these. Look at them all, that's crazy. but I was unsure how to swatch them all, but I figured out a really simple kind of way of swatching them in a way that's not going to rub off over time. So that's like the best thing, and it shows you them on black and white, because mica powders you can use on black and on white. Some of them look the same on both colours, but there's a few that are called something glow. They look very different on black and white, and also the chameleon colours look very different on black and white too. They don't actually come in this order. I did rearrange them into a kind of rainbow that I like, and I put all the glow colours down here and the chameleons are down here. But they, you know, you can keep them in whatever order you like to, really. Also, it has a little piece of paper. It comes inside. I stuck it on there so I didn't lose it. And this is the little spoon that you get. I'll tell you about the paper in a second. But this is the little spoon. It's a really good quality little spoon. It's going to last you a long time. I just stuck the packet on there so I didn't lose it. But it's got a really cool little grip here and the tiny little spoon on there too. So really, really helpful for getting the product out of the pots. So that is that, and I've just kept mine like that. You could just not use the plastic bag and tape the actual spoon to the box as well. And the piece of paper just says that instead of measuring these out by volume, they measured them by weight, so you get 5 grams of everything. A lot of the time mica powders are like mils, so like 5ml or 10ml pots, but they're 5 gram pots, and obviously natural like elements and mica all has different densities. So in some pots, like for example this one is like 4/5 full, whereas one of the chameleon powders you're getting less than half the pot that's actually, I don't know if you can even see that because it's reflecting, but you're getting like less than half the pot that's actually got powder in it, because the pigments that have gone into, or the mica that's gone into the chameleon colours is a lot denser than some of the other colours that you've got. So you're not getting diddled out of product. The way they've done it, they've used the same size bottles to make it look nice and neat, but they've done it by weight, not by volume. So you get different amounts in each of the bottles. But, however, saying that, even though you've only got like 2/5 of this bottle, it's still going to last a really long time. You do not need much mica powder at all. It really does go a long way, and this is going to last you a lifetime. So, you know, you're probably never going to need to buy any more mica powder again if you buy this, and you've got every single colour that you're going to ever need, which is brilliant. So, let me show you my colour swatches. So I made it so it would fit inside the box, and I also did it so I could have a white and black swatch for every single colour. And the way I did it was, I decided, because with the mica powders I knew they weren't going to, because they haven't got the binder, I knew they weren't going to stick just with water or with an ink pad that like I may usually use mica powder products. So I knew I needed something that had a kind of adhesive quality to it, and rather than just using glue and like having coloured a little patch that's black so that it would show on black and white, I decided to take my black and white Nouveau Crystal drops, and I just did a drop of white, a drop of black, used my finger to press it down so it was flatter, so it wasn't the sort of little pearl that they make, and then just sprinkled on some of the powder. And I did that for every single colour, and you get a true representation of what the colour looks like on white and black for every single colour, which is amazing. I did it in stages, so maybe 3 different sessions to get the whole thing covered. So I would work on this row and like this row, and then I would blow the excess of this one that way and the excess of this one that way, and then as you got down the rows you would blow it obviously away from the wet ones. These would already be dry, so you'd be blowing it that way so you didn't contaminate another one that didn't already have the powder on. In a couple of places I got a little bit of contamination, like here there's a tiny bit of gold on that one, but on the whole you can tell which colours are which. And then I'd also reorganised these before I did this swatch so that the swatch actually matches the box. So the peachy beige is that top corner, and it's this top corner on my sheet as well. And that also helped because it meant I could do all of this, get all of the Nouveau drop and sprinkling the powder on done, and I would still know the exact order that I needed to write the names on, because they were all in the right order in the box, and I kept them in that order as I was swatching them onto here. And the way I got the powder out instead of using the spoon, because I felt like I would get too much powder out if I used the spoon, I took one of these little fluffy brushes. I've got a mermaid tail one, but it's just a little like fluffy blusher kind of a brush, and this one fits really nicely into the pot. So I just got one, you know, that would fit nicely. And then all you do is put that into the pot, get a little bit of powder on the end, tap it around the neck of the pot to knock off any excess, and then I would just go like this and tap the bristles so it would just fall where I wanted it to, and that's how I got all my swatches done. But you get some really gorgeous colours in here, and even though like these two, magenta and light plum, they might look similar on the white, when you put them on the black, this one is much more bluey and this one is much more purpley, and having that reference of on blue and white I think really helps. Maybe you're using it over a stamped image or something, and some of it's going to go on the white background, some of it's going to go on the black coloured line. You would know the difference in the black or white. Or if you like to do your resin pours and stuff, if you started with a black base or a white base, it would look different. And you can also use this in acrylic pours too. So again, using it on a black base or a white base, you might get a different look with it as well. So those are all of the main colours, and then down here are the ones that really change on white and black. So these are the 3 chameleons. I do wish you got bigger pots of the chameleon because they are really cool. That green one, it's almost got glitter in it as well, and I don't know if it's really going to show on camera, but it looks way more goldy on the white and way more greeny on there, but you've also got like hints of pink in there too. I really don't know if you can see it. It's just what one certain angle. There, you can kind of see it there. Yeah, it's going pink, you see. So it's got pink, yellow and green in it. And then you have chameleon blue, which looks more reddy on white, but looks blue on black. And there's also like purple hints in there as well. And then you have chameleon red, which looks, I suppose it does kind of look the same bronzy sort of colour. Maybe it's a bit more pinky on the black one, but another really gorgeous colour. And then along the bottom I've put a lot of the glow ones. So we've got ballerina glow, which is almost invisible on white, but when it's on black it looks really gorgeous and pink. Then you've got bubblegum glow, which again is a nice pinky sort of purple. Periwinkle glow is a blue. Sage glow is green, and then gold glow is obviously gold, and it just has a hint of gold when it's on the white, but it's really in your face gold when it's on the black as well. So there's tons of different colours to work with in here. And I mean, if you go for the 60 set rather than the 35 set, even though you're getting less of the colours, you're getting more of the colours, and some colours are similar. So if you ran out of one, you could substitute it for another colour that's quite similar, even though it might look slightly different on a different colour. If you were, say, just using them on white, these two would look the same, or these two would look the same. It's mostly when you switch it out to be on black, or on black really, that the kind of mica colour shifts more. So those are all of the colours that are in here, and now I've been doing quite a few different experiments just to show you different ways of how you can apply mica powders if maybe you've never used them before, or maybe you've seen that Arteza have brought out mica powders and you wanted to know if they could be used in something that you like to do. I'm pretty sure I haven't covered every way of you being able to use them, but I've just done a few things that I would use in card making. So I presume a lot of you that watch my videos are card makers, so it should hopefully be helpful for you as well. So I will keep my colour swatch out in case I need it. But I will, oh actually, for size reference as well, you might want to know how big these bottles are, because obviously everybody you see doing these unboxing videos has different sized hands, so it's kind of unclear how big or little bottles are. I was sort of really wondering what size they were going to be when they turned up, like how big the outer box was going to be, but basically the square base of the pot is 1 inch square. So if you want to know a size reference, that base is 1 inch square, just so you know. Okay, Okay, so I've got quite a few different bits and pieces to share with you. Things that have worked, things that haven't worked quite as I was expecting them to, because there isn't a binder in these. But I wanted to show you the simplest way of using them, which is just adding water. So there's 3 different swatches on here. 2 are just using water, and this one is how you can use it in that same way, but in a way that the mica won't come off. So this is just using a small amount of mica in the water. This is adding more mica, so you get more of like a mica-y watercolour look. However, the problem is, if I got an actual clean finger, if you now wipe this, it's coming off. So you can see that orange is on my finger, and again, obviously with the heavier one, you can even smudge it on there and it's coming off even more. But the third swatch that's on here, I took some of this, which is the Cosmic Shimmer Clear Varnish Lacquer, or if you don't have that, you can use Nouveau Crystal Glaze, or if you don't have that, you can use Clear 3D Gloss, or if you don't have that, you could use PVA glue, you could use Clear Gesso, you could use a matte gel medium, you know, any kind of thing like that you can use. And all you do is you mix the mica with it, and then you can paint it on, and maybe it gives more of a shiny sheen to it, but you still get that mica look. And if I've got another clean finger, I've been doing a lot of crafting today, if I wipe over this, nothing comes off. So there's absolutely nothing comes off of that because it is sealed in. So if you don't want any of your mica to rub off over time, you can seal it in like this, or if the application was different, like some of the ones I will show later on, and it wasn't an option to mix the mica powder with something before adding it to your background or to your project, you can also use really cheap hairspray, and that will seal it in as well. So for example, if you had say you'd coloured in a stamped image and you'd watered a bit of it down, instead of using it in a massive chunk like this, you just painted on some fine details to add that bit of mica to your project. You could then do a light mist of hairspray over it, or you could, instead of just mixing it with water, you could mix it with something else to make it have that like binders in it so that it won't rub off. So there's like 2 different ways of doing it really. There's a way around a way around just using it with water, basically. And then also just using it with water, I wanted to show a couple of different backgrounds as well. So this was taking, I might have actually used the twine markers for this. I think I did. So I scribbled the twine markers, a few different colours, onto the Easy Clean matte from Tonic, or the one that comes with the media matte, and sprayed it with water, and then tipped, or like used my fluffy brush, took a little bit of the gold powder out of the pot and tapped it onto it while it was wet, and then picked it up. And because I used quite a bit of water, I got a really subtle effect, but you can just about see a little bit of mica still in there, maybe along that edge more. But again, that would come off over time. Isn't it really? Yes, it's still coming off. You can see it on my finger. But again, a light coat of hairspray would stop that from coming off as well. Or because it's such a subtle amount, you know, you might not really worry. Actually, it's not really coming off there. Maybe that was a better way of sealing it in. Anyway, so you can use it in your backgrounds, and you know, if you are worried about it coming off, you can seal it with something. And then this was using it in a more heavier use. So this was what was left after I did this one. And I just came back in and did it really, and I did a really heavy coverage of adding in extra ink to get the darker colour, and also adding in extra mica to get those sort of pools of mica on there. And again, if I show you with this finger, it is coming off, but actually it's not coming off as much as when I just mixed it with water and painted it on. Okay, so it comes off a tiny bit actually, but not much. So I guess mixing it with water and doing some kind of cool background like this, I suppose where the water is, I don't know actually. Well, you'll have to experiment and decide whether it is easy to use it with water. But anyway, it's not coming off as much as I thought it was on that one, which is great. So you can also use it in that kind of way to create cool backgrounds, and then you can seal it if you want to, depending on your application. Then, so I have this one here, which I did with this really cool Woodware stamp, which I just brought, because I thought it was really cool. And these are actually all of those glow colours from the bottom of my swatch sheet. So that's Bubblegum Glow, Periwinkle Glow, Sage Glow and Gold Glow. And I just wanted to show how they show up on black. So I stamped this with black ink, black VersaFine ink, and I dusted the powder on after I had stamped it, and that is the cool kind of look that you get. And I haven't tested this one yet, so I need to test and see if this is going to rub off from using it on top of black ink. I think it's going to, but I don't know 100%. Yes, it is. It definitely does rub off. So if you're doing this kind of a background using a black pigment ink to get the look of it on black, or even using any kind of sticky ink, like Perfect Medium, Nouveau Clearmark or VersaMark, if you use any kind of things like that as well, you will need to try and seal it in some way so that the mica does not rub off, because it does rub off there. So that's using mica onto a black stamped image, and I did a previous example. This was just my really rough test, and this was using the mica powder onto the Clearmark ink pad, a little baby one that I have, and it really does not stay on that. It just comes off straight as mica powder again. So yeah, you definitely need to seal that kind of thing. But if you don't want to seal it and you still want that kind of look of one of the glow colours onto black, but you don't want to go through the process of sealing it, you can make your own embossing powders. So I just took some clear detail embossing powder, and then I just took an old bag that I had left over, and I put a little bit of that clear embossing powder in there, and then I put in a little scoop of the it was a mixture actually of Bubblegum Glow and Periwinkle Glow into here, and mixed it all up. You can kind of tell that it's got the glow in there, but obviously when it's on white you can't really see it. But this came out as this onto there. So even though it looks white in here, it has that mica powder in it to give it that purpley look. And then so all you do is I stamped it in black so that I would get the look of this on black, and then I sprinkled it over the top. And you can see there is a few areas, little tiny areas in this bigger patch here, that's where only the mica powder touched the ink first, so none of the embossing powder had time to get to that area. So when I heated the powder, there was nothing holding that mica powder onto there. So after it cooled down, it rubbed off. But everywhere else on there, it's not going to rub off at all, because that is encapsulated in the embossing powder. So it's really not going to go anywhere. So I just thought that was another cool way of using your mica powders on your stamped images, but not having to worry about sealing it afterwards, because you've used it into a embossing powder to get that kind of a look. And it will only really work with clear embossing powder. I think if you use white, I think it might give you the colour if you were using, you know, one of the brighter coloured mica powders. However, I think the mica kind of look of it would sort of get lost. So I think definitely use a clear powder when you're doing that. So that is that technique. Then I wondered other ways that you could add this to a background, or maybe on top of something you've collaged or something. So this was actually using clear gesso, which this is the clear gesso that I have, but it seems to almost dry white. I don't know why, but I mean here that looks really milky and white, and it's not really clear at all. So I don't know whether I've just got a dodgy pot of clear gesso, but it didn't really come out how I was expecting it to. But anyway, if you have clear gesso or maybe a clear gel medium or something, you could do this. You can spread it onto your page and then sprinkle the powder, the mica powder on top. Again, I used this fluffy brush and I just tapped it to get it to go onto the surface. And I think this kind of look would look cool if you like to do collage-y designs and you've used a matte medium or a glue or something to seal it. Whilst it's still wet, you could tap in the mica powder and then that would stay stuck into the background. but I also thought, I wonder if you mix it all together, how that would work. I think I went a little bit overboard with the mica powder, and because that supposedly clear gesso seems to dry a little bit white, it's not as mica-y as I was hoping, but you can just mix the medium and the mica powder together to give you some kind of overall sort of paint coverage. If you don't have a gloss medium or something, you can do that kind of thing. But if I show you it in comparison to the gloss one that I did, I might have just used too much mica powder in this as well, but you got more of a mica powder sheen from using something that was a sort of glossy, glazy kind of a medium rather than a gesso. So I wanted to show that comparison. Then I also bought this recently. It's the matte super heavy clear gel medium. And I was just experimenting with this because I thought, well, you could make your own mica texture paste then, because this is like a really thick kind of medium. So if you mix the mica paste with it, you can make a kind of texture paste. So for this, I think I was using Chameleon Red, and maybe it was magenta or rose pink for the other colour. And so that's exactly what I did. I mixed some of that heavy gel with the two different mica powders and blended it through a stencil to get the different colour, and that was using it onto white. And then I also did the same and used it onto black as well to kind of get the other colour shift of the mica powders. And I think that works really nicely. You can either use that in a more obvious way or a more subtle way, and you could, as well as just using it thickly through a stencil, you could do a similar kind of thing with this and spread it like this, and it should give you more of a mica finish because it has here. So that's another way of using it. But I had some left over that I'd mixed up. I was working on my Easy Clean matte, or the one that comes with the media matte, and you can just leave this to dry. Like, it's like a proper thick sort of a medium, so you can just leave that on a silicone-y, non-sticky kind of surface and leave it to dry, and then you have these cool, almost like skins like you get when you're acrylic pouring, with the cool different mica colours in. And I reckon it's not sticky when this is dry, so I reckon you could die cut this and do some really cool techniques with that as well. Yeah, so I think that's a really cool way of using this kind of mica powder, that you can really kind of get that translucency as well. Because some of the other mica powders that are on the market have a dye powder in them as well, so you don't often get that translucency, but you do really get it with this because it's just the mica powder. So I wanted to show that as well. Then I was also experimenting again with trying to seal the mica powder into some kind of glaze, and this was using that clear varnish lacquer again. All I did was squeeze some onto my piece of cardstock, and then I took 4 different colours of mica powders and the little fluffy brush and tapped them all over it. I was kind of hoping for a more blended look, because I do this a lot with like acrylic paints and stuff, and I squished them, obviously that way up, I squished them together and pulled them apart, and I was kind of hoping for a more blended look. I think this one looks the most blended, but it does give a cool very mixed media-y, messy, grungy kind of a background look. And even here, that looks like it's still powdery, but it's actually got trapped underneath the glaze, so you get that sort of powdered look, but it's trapped underneath there. So I think it gives some really interesting kind of results, and none of that is coming off. That is all completely stuck on there, and you could die cut this as well if you want to. And that was using that crystal glaze, but you could use the Nuvo crystal glaze, or a clear gloss, or glossy accents, or something like that to do this kind of thing with as well. And then I wanted to do this in a more controlled way, so I took a die cut. This is a Spellbinders die. I just took a plain white one, stuck it to a piece of white card. I was planning on just using this as a whole card, but I got a bit messy around the edge of it. And I stuck that in place. Then I came back in with the clear varnish lacquer, or you can use any of the glossy ones, and then added some mica powder to them. And you can see in some areas I was more heavy-handed with the mica powder, like up here, and in other areas I was more sparse with the amount that I put in, so you can really vary the results that you get. It looks very like kind of old rock or something in this area where I added a lot of the mica powder. But in some of the other areas you can actually see that glossy finish coming through because I wasn't so heavy-handed with it. And also to get the mica powder into the actual gloss kind of mediums that I was using, I just took one of these, which is a tiny little ball tool, and I just swirled it in. So whereas the varnish lacquer was still wet and I'd just dropped some of the powder on top, I was just swirling it all in to mix it all together. If you don't mix it as much and it just sits on top, you get more of that kind of a look with the crusty kind of look. But again, that gives another different look, which looks quite cool. And if you sprinkled this on even more sparsely than I did, you would get all sorts of other different looks as well. In a larger open area you could really get some cool like that kind of spray paint sort of a look, because it could be all speckly across it as well. So loads of different ways to experiment with that. And then with this kind of a thing you do get a bit messy, so all you do is you cut another die cut and then put that straight over the top to hide all of the messy stuff, and then you still see the gorgeous stuff all the way through it as well. So I wanted to show that. Then I was colouring these images in with the Twi markers, which you'll have seen in that up close video, and then I decided to splatter on some mica powder in the background of them. And this was before I'd done too many experiments with just adding water to the mica powder, so if you rub these little splashes it does come off. But a way to have avoided that, you could mix the mica powder with one of these kind of gloss mediums and get it into a more watery consistency and flick it on, and then it would have stayed, rather than going to be rubbing off. Or you could even have put like clear or white or black Nouveau crystal drops down and then sprinkled it over the top of that and coated them with it. It would have given a rougher kind of a look, like the top wing of that butterfly, but you could do that kind of thing as well if you want to. But that was just showing how you could splatter it down. I might actually demonstrate that as well, so you can see what I mean. And then another application, you can use it with your acrylic pouring. So I think I need to do a bit more experimenting to see what medium to mix the mica powder with when I'm doing an acrylic pour, but I just mixed it with Floetrol to do these ones, and I wanted to show it on black and white. So this is on black, and you can kind of see I used similar colours to the actual acrylics that I used in this. I was using the chameleon green and one of the other greens as well, but I think it gives a really cool look. It gives a quite a textured look, so I don't know whether that was because I used too much mica powder in it, but again it's all sort of trial and error to how much you use. But these kind of mica powders also look really gorgeous in resin pours as well as acrylic pours too. This was just the leftover that was in the cup, and I just let it drain out to give a cool effect, and that was more of the bluey coloured or the turquoisey coloured mica that I'd used in that one. And then I did a bigger one on white cardstock as well, and I don't know if it's, no, it is still in there, it sort of goes down here. It's difficult to show mica on a camera, but I think you can kind of see where it is in that pour. But yeah, it just looks really cool. It really like adds that little touch of luxury to something like this, adding in the mica powder. So those are all of the little experiments that I did with the mica powders. So I hope you enjoyed seeing all of those different things that you can do. And I thought I would just quickly show you a couple of the things that you can do with it as well. So I might show you the mixing it with the matte medium. And then I think I'll show you mixing it with the clear varnish lacquer to get the splatter effect, because I haven't actually done that yet. And what colour shall I pick? I'm just looking at my swatch chart. I think I'm going to go bright blue. I'm not sure I've used that one in any of my little projects yet. So I'm going to do it onto here. So this is the Easy Clean matte. It's just that white silicone-y kind of matte. So I'm going to put that off to the side because I can actually mix the matte medium with the mica powder and then leave the excess on here to dry and get another one of those cool skins. as well, which is brilliant. So what shall I show first? I think I'll show the glaze sort of one first to try and get a splattery effect. So this glaze is quite watery anyway, so I might not have to water it down that much, but you are going to want to make sure you wash your paintbrush out, or I could use a stick actually instead of a paintbrush, so I don't risk ruining a paintbrush. But anyway, so I've added some of that, and then I'll show you how easy this brush fits in here as well. So you'd want to get one that's going to fit nicely down the neck of the bottle, and then you just place it in, you tap the powder, and then you get some on there. That's maybe a bit too much, so you just want to tap the neck of the bottle just to get some of it off, and so you've just got a little bit of powder on there now, and then you can just sprinkle that. I might need a bit more. It's better to go less first, and you can just sprinkle that into the glaze. Okay, that should be plenty, and then I can mix that in. And the way I clean off my brush is I just take it to my bin down here, and I just tap it and then flick the bristles on the side of the bin, and then it takes out all of the excess out of the brush. So, sorry for my squeaky chair. For the splattering, just so I don't have to go and wash a paintbrush, I'm just going to use an old glue spreader and mix that up. And we'll see if I can get any splatters just flicking it off of a glue spreader. I think it needs to be a little bit more watery. Yep, definitely does. So I'm going to just add a little bit of water to it. This should give a nice, like, subtle, sparkly look. Yeah, you can get some sort of splatters then. So if I just take my piece of card and just flick it on. Obviously if you did this with a paintbrush you'd get a much daintier look, but that is how you can get the speckled look of mica without it rubbing off, because that glaze, when it dries, even though I've watered it down, it's going to encapsulate that mica, and so none of it will flake off or just rub off once it's dry. So I'll get rid of that, and then I will show you how I was mixing the matte gel medium. I mean, you probably get different looks as well if you used a gloss medium too, because these pieces, they do kind of have that sort of matte sort of a look to them. They're still really shiny with the mica, but they have that matte kind of finish. So if you used a gloss medium, you would get a different kind of finish. I suppose more of the shiny finish that I was getting by using the crystal glazes and stuff. So this is like a really thick gel, so I'm going to use maybe this much because I want to show it to you on here, and I want to save some and put it on here as well actually. So I can just shut that. And then I'm going to use the little spoon actually to show you how useful that is. Okay, so here's the little spoon. On one side of it, it's sort of curved a little bit more than the other, so that the side that's upwards is the side you're supposed to scoop with. And I don't want to do it too over, like too much of it in here, so I think maybe to that size of a lump of the gel medium, I'm going to do about this much. I don't know if you can actually, I can't tip it to the side. Maybe you'll see what I do tip it. It was just sort of heaped a little bit, that kind of amount on there. And then to clean your little spoon, you can just use a piece of kitchen roll or a baby wipe and just wipe it off and then let it dry, or use a bit of kitchen roll to dry it off, and then it's perfectly clean again for the next colour that you want to use with it. And then this is just a palette knife that I'm using to scoop that medium out and to mix it all together. You just want to keep mixing until it's all combined and it's all gone a uniform colour. Okay, that looks gorgeous. So then you can apply it through a stencil. You can just apply it onto a background. Maybe you're doing some kind of mixed media piece and you want some like waves or something. Maybe some really sparkly mica-y kind of waves in the foreground. You could use it as a thick medium like that. You can use it through a stencil. You could use it to fill in a die cut like I was doing with the crystal glazes. This would be a little bit of a less messy kind of way, although you'd have to keep mixing up a new colour for the next colour. But yeah, there's loads of different ways you can use it. And then to do the sort of these kind of pieces that I was doing before, you just want to take it all on your spatula, move it to a clean area so you get some kind of cleaner edges, and then just sort of spread it out into whatever shape you might want. So, and maybe I could make a heart kind of a shape. It's not really going to work. Maybe. It's kind of a heart, a little splodgy heart. But I think this kind of thing with a die cut shape out of the centre would look really cool. And then you can also like just squeeze off the rest of it from your palette knife and do another little random shape that you might want to use. You know, loads of different things you can use these for. I've done it before in a video ages ago, and I'd used glimmer paste and I'd die cut that as well. So I think it's going to give that kind of a sort of a look. Maybe I want to make that look more heart shaped. That's the good thing about this stuff, it's just a gel, so you can just move it around as much as you want. Well, anyway, some kind of shape. But yeah, I'm hoping you enjoyed this video. I just wanted to show you some different ways that you could use these mica powders in with your card making, or you've probably got other different ways that the ways I've shown you might have sparked other ways you might think of using it as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and as I said at the beginning, Arteza kindly sent me the mica powders to show you in a video, and I'm also part of the Arteza affiliate scheme, so any of the links that are in the description below the video are affiliate links, and if you use those to buy anything on the Arteza website, I will get a small percentage of the amount that you spend, and it's at no extra cost to you. It's actually Arteza giving me that money, so it's just like a little extra for me. And then to say thank you for you using my affiliate links, you can also when you get to the checkout, you can put the code CRaFTi Potential 3 into the little coupon box, and that'll give you 10% off. So to say thank you for you using my links, you can have a 10% off discount code, and it's valid until the 17th of March 2020, and I will make sure it's the first thing you see in the description box below the video, because I'm not 100% sure if the capitalisation is necessary to get the code to work, so I'll put it as the first thing so you can just copy and paste it when you go to check out at the Arteza website. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope this sparked a few ideas for you, maybe to try some of the products you already own in different ways, or to invest in something that might make different areas of your crafting more experimental maybe, or take you more into mixed media kind of stuff as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye!